Thanks, Fjord. These are the facts as we know them. This was discovered at the end of the second season when local favorite Spitfire Aston Martin was presented with $200 million offer for just 4 races. It was confirmed when just a couple races into the third season, Spitfire was again offered a crazy amount of money. Team principal Short Shifted has been called into a joint press conference with the head of the GMA to discuss the matters.
So we're going to take a quick look at the car here as we restart our second season. You can see that we've got one sponsor offer currently. The plan is to get Sarah on board here shortly. She's happy with the offer we presented, which matches what we did the first season, or the first time through. Almost thought I was going to overshoot, but it's time to say goodbye to Faith Anthony, who didn't want to drive for us anyway. So, from here on out, things will get interesting. Alright, so now that we've done that, we've also got some additional sponsor offers, so we're going to check back on those. And before we do that, we're going to favorite Max Schmidt. we're also going to go ahead and purchase the telemetry center, because that was something that we did very early on at Season 2. Now, back to the sponsors. You notice the prices weren't too bad, and you notice Kashima was actually somebody we had at this time previously, and the offer is much more reasonable. Now we just need to wrap up the deal with Sarah Thomas. Trying to make sure my offer matches what was successfully accepted last time. And then Ellie Marsh. I didn't remember spending that much on her last time, but that was what I was seeing from the offers after I went through the season. A little bit higher than I'd wanted, but 3-star driver, you gotta pay for the talent. So, we wrap this up. We have the telemetry center going, we have the driver lineup, and then it's a matter of trying to mimic how things fell during Season 2 as much as possible. Now here I had to go a little different because I wanted to. I wanted to get an upfront payment because the second place finish was going to be completely out of the reach, and that was a little on the high side, but an acceptable number. You see Frankie is now developed a trait. And Ellie Marsh is addictive, has an addictive personality. Now, first dilemma, and that was +1 to improvement, and I think a -1 to fuel efficiency, which I was really hesitant to go for, not knowing how the dilemmas were going to fall this time. So I left it alone. Or maybe I didn't. No, that's the next dilemma. There's our Season 2 car all over again. Now we're in pre-season. We had respectable numbers, though not as good as last time. But both drivers are extremely happy. So, 13 million for our car. We're also going to go ahead and get the design center upgraded, which was something else we did. In the meantime, we're going to start working on parts. And I think we're on to our next part. I know this part isn't as exciting as I'd hoped it'd be myself. But we're just plugging along, trying to get this stuff taken care of. The car's not looking too bad, especially rear wing. Rear wing has been a strong point of this team. But we also need other parts. We need some front wings, we need engine especially, we need gearbox. Basically everything that's not a spec part we need to improve drastically. So a lot of the pre-race number 1 situation was pretty much getting the durability cranked up the best we could and moving on from there. So we're about ready to go into the first race. Get them nice and neutral because the car isn't up to their standards. So, as I said, we were doing the perfect setup mod with my variance between 94 and 99%. It's the last little bit of the practice. We got race setup, but not 3 on the tires, not level 3 on the tires. Luckily, we got some rain, which we did get intermediates up to level 3. As you can see, it looks like we got about 97%. All the cars started off intermediates. We had Ellie with a great starting position. Then here we go. Driver mistake. Ellie's still holding up the field. Now she's going to start falling down it. And now she made a driver mistake. You know, I can't buy a break. Luckily, we didn't. That was not our driver. That was Peter Young. Something I realize I have to watch for is if I try to underfueled vehicles, they don't make the effort to push for the start of the race when it's the no micromanagement mod. So we'll just need to remember that in the future. So our 2 drivers are near the back of the field after Ellie started up there at number 2. She's all the way down to 17th. Shen has crashed. Now if I had been in control of the cars, I'd probably be at this point telling them to push because the rain was going to be ending. But I don't get that luxury. Something else you notice is that Sarah Thomas, she's holding it about 3/4 of a lap short on fuel, at least right now. And she's going to bounce between that range, or max out at that range and start coming back down. But it's something I noticed in this when I did underfuel. So we've got the weather changing. And the only hope we have of doing well in this is to make the early guess and move. Now if you notice there was a nice jump cut there. Not much happened in the middle of the race. I think we had 1 car additional crash out. I was just trying to edit this down, but we were able to get Ellie up in 12th, but she's barely hanging on. But luckily we got the safety car. This scared me. 8 laps, 9 laps to go. 2 parts ready to fall off the car. Safety car period's about to end. And I have no way to call them early. So So, calling into the pits, because I could not risk a DNF. Five laps to go. Luckily, somebody up in front of us, or with us, went ahead and crashed. So, we have just mere laps to go. Sarah Thomas was able to push up because of the early call to the pits, but she's going to start falling backwards, especially with 4 cars behind her, 3 of them on softer tires. So we'll just, with the failing part again, I did not want to have that a DNF happen to me, so we just kept going. Called them into the pits, made the repair. Luckily got ourselves out. And then Ellie still managed to retire. This is just not what I was expecting. So thankfully, Sarah Thomas was holding on to 12th place. Gearbox in shreds. Probably missing 3rd gear or 4th gear. And there we are. Not what I was hoping for, but it at least got us the sponsor bonus. So you can see Sarah's pit stops in relation to the leader. No illegal parts, nothing to worry about. No penalties that moved us up in the standings. So luckily that allowed us to pull off 9th place, which kept the chairman's happiness static. Markability went down a touch. And we made $250,000. A little bit more than $250,000. So there's the other standings from the other series. You can see the logos came through nice and clean, which I'm really happy about. So we're on towards the next race. We had parts to work on. I believe that previous one was a gearbox. Now we're taking care of an engine. I'm trying to follow the exact pattern that we did previously. And it's about this point I realized that because of the money issue, we weren't going to be able to do all the parts we had anticipated based on previous information, based on what we did previously because of the way the sponsors were. So I think I was supposed to do 2 engines before we got into the second race, and instead what we're going to end up doing is only 1 engine. New sponsors came up. Now I had La Paz last time and that was not an option, so again we had some realistic values. I should say reasonable values. So we had another dilemma to face, which was different than the last time. Which is the only thing I really don't like about some of these randomized dilemmas was they change up. But we have a volunteer trait, and now we actually did the second engine. Okay. Ignore what I said previously, but we will get to a point this season where we aren't going to be able to completely follow along with what we did due to lack of funds. Again, gonna grab the... Now I went for the 6th place bonus because when we did this race last time, I did go for the 6th place bonus in hopes that I would finish that high. So making sure the cars are set up. So, into the race, going with the tires. As you see, level 3 on both. We had a fairly dry session, but we're at the bottom of the field again. So, Sarah gets to start at the front of the field. And because I underfueled the vehicle, again, the engine effort is minimal. Will this help out later in the race when the engine hasn't been pushed as hard? Who knows? But as you can see, rapidly plummeting through the field because not putting in the effort. This is probably something I need to discuss with the other coders to see if there's a way. Now we've got our first crash, just 2 laps in. And there we have that interesting situation with 3/4 of a lap of fuel going red to yellow to red to yellow to blue, holding it at 3/4 of a lap short of fuel for the start of the race. So we've already got worn tires for Marsh. Thomas is not far behind. I am failing to take care of the tires before I realize it. Just now realizing that Marsh's tires are completely shot. I should have called her into the pits 2 laps ago. Yeah, these things happen. If she really wanted the tires changed, she should have complained more, I guess, is what I'll go with for an answer. Now, Sarah Thomas, luckily, has been able to keep it in the top 10. Sadly, losing 5 places since she got to start on pole. Alright, so Ellie's taken care of. Another Marsh crash that scared me when I saw the name. After some early stops, we are just putting along. So that choice of 6th place is not looking so hot for the bonus. I think we managed to pull a 4th and 11th the first time through, and now we're looking at maybe we're going to get the top half, maybe crack the top 10, who knows. But if we keep having all these other cars retiring, we might be able to make something happen. So, now Marsh has an issue with the front wing. We're going to keep pushing her, try to get as many laps out of this as possible. I don't know why these parts all went down so fast, other than the fact they weren't that great to begin with. So you see we've got other cars at least pitting for repairs, so we're not the only ones suffering. Another crash from up near the front of the field. But we've got Marsh 1 spot above, last running, and Sarah Thomas in 10th. with parts failing. Everybody's parts are failing. This is the downside when you use Flaming Red's mod, his coding that basically your engine, the amount you push the car determines how parts wear, and I tweak that to not only impact the engine but the gearbox and the brakes to a lesser extent. And we're just riding out the end of this. 2 spots short. Sarah Thomas just not going to get it. Trying to wrap up. Tires are going to go off cliff. Not exactly how I want to end this race. Suspension just holding on. There goes the tires. Just held the position. So, not the best results. Luckily, we were only expected to finish 9th for this season. So as long as we can keep pushing above 9th, we'll have a happy boss. Go through, drivers actually improve morale for some reason, and technically we got 5th place, but not enough to actually make any money. Not something I can afford to do. So now on towards the next race, we get another dilemma. Trying to figure out what's going to work on this one. I believe it's unhappiness with the mechanic. And since I had not planned on changing mechanics right away, kind of turned that request down. So, another front wing. You notice we're really out of money at this point, being about 1.1 in the hole. But I really need a better car. Almost 2 million in the red. A vote for replacing track layouts. Got approved, which was a bit of a surprise. And we're about to go into the Milan GP, which was the site of our first win, which has been now nullified. Hoping that we can recreate some magic. Not such good weather at the start of the practice, but we'll just go with it. Drivers have their setup they're happy with. So, soft tires, level 2. Intermediates were level 1 or 2. Once again, got somebody on the front row, Sarah Thomas. I realized 3 races in that I wasn't doing the obligatory close-ups of the car. Look at her take off. This is what happens when you don't underfuel the vehicle. The car, the driver, is willing to take off and burn 3/4 of a lap of fuel. So while she had a fantastic start, she just doesn't have the ponies under the hood. And by the end of the first lap has fallen to 2nd place. The 3rd hunting her down. Lockups galore. I'm waiting for a bunch of wrecks. Somebody's been shoved off. Poor John's dot here. Got the short end of the stick on that one. I think you saw about 3 lockups there. So now Sarah's down to third, battling for third and second. Well, Ellie's back in 16th. And then Sarah luckily lost it and saved it. 2 driver mistakes in a row. That had me very worried that something was going to happen. Then we ended up with a safety car. Things are looking good so far. No sign of the downpour that was going to that graced us the last time and allowed us to get the win. So I figured I'd take advantage of this, go ahead and pit, even though it's way, way too early. Just end up go ahead and double stack them, because it wasn't going to hurt us much more than anything else was at this point. A lot more cars came into pit than I expected. Then Rengel had a loose wheel nut, which I hadn't seen in a while. So we just kind of followed that for a short time until he came into the pits. So we're about to get started again. I probably could have cut this part out. I believe I cut another part of the race out, I'm not sure. But off to the races, and we got left standing flat-footed. 15th. Well, we're at least up to 13th and 15th-ish range. Somebody went wide. Ellie Marsh is really looking like a poor investment. For as much as we paid her, which I'm going to say is almost double what we're paying Sarah, we are not getting the results. So at this point, we're just kind of riding around. Another driver mistake. Just maddening. So we're coming along here. Final pit stop for Ellie Marsh. Trying to figure out what I should do with Sarah Thomas, because she is in the points. She is in our bonus. She does need to pit though. So we're going to go ahead and make one more stop. No sign of that rain. Not that I could get her to slow down her tire wear if I wanted, because they're going to do their own thing. Trying to get Sarah to get one last boost off before she pulls in the pits. And she's off. Right behind Marsh. 5 laps to go, 6 laps to go. Luckily, Shen put it in the wall, but it doesn't look good for us. There's only a couple cars that are going to need to pit before the end of the race. And my drivers are sitting there battling for 9th and 10th with each other. Not seeming to make much ground on 9th. Or I should say 8th. The AI team that's got a problem with their car in 11th there is actually putting up a fight. Final lap. Worn tires. Sarah Thomas uses her teammate to slingshot past. Ellie Marsh's tires are gone. So we're going to try to hold on for 9th. Luckily, we just pulled off. Our Ellie ends up plummeting to about 12th or 13th. And I believe she officially got 13th, but then was bumped up due to penalty. Yep. And she actually gets bumped up another spot because of penalty.